This is an AMI podcast.
It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What's essential is invisible to the eye. Welcome to AMI Audiobook Review, another episode of this podcast where we chat all things audiobooks. And by we, I mean myself, Ramia Amadin, and Nisreen Abdelmajid. So this quote that you heard was by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and it's from The Little Prince. Now, this is not a book that I've read, and I already totally confessed to you all that I didn't read many children's books as I grew up here, but with a lot of Sri Lankan kid influence. So it's back to school month in August, sort of, kind of, and into September. So we're featuring quotes from children's books, and I am loving these quotes as I pick them. I'm putting these books down as potential bedtime stories for me to familiarize myself with. And maybe some of them aren't bedtime stories. And we're not assuming that all kids' books are light and fluffy. I think there's a lot of learning curves as well, but this is the one from The Little Prince. Now let's talk about the featured titles on the CELA homepage. This is the Center for Equitable Library Access. You can go to celalibrary.ca for these titles and for their entire catalog of accessible books. You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwiki Amizi, contemporary romance. The second book is River of the Gods by Candace Millard, and this is for the adventurers and explorers out there. And the third and final featured title for this time around is All the Things We Don't Talk About by Amy Feltman. We haven't even done a pause or play on this one. Hint, hint. So we're going to talk about that maybe a little later in the show. But for now, Nisreen, you have what's trending?
Ramya, do you have a bookend in your house?
A bookend, like
to
like a
hold your
bookmark?
books together.
Oh,
The
no.
thing that will hold your books up in your bookshelf.
No.
Okay,
I don't
maybe
have a bookshelf. I don't have books.
I know
physical
you
books
don't.
either.
I
Yeah.
know, but some people have it as just the aesthetic.
just a
even
cute
if you
aesthetic
just listen.
thing.
Exactly.
Well, you teach me something new every week, Nisreen.
I caught you. I'll send you pictures of these things.
Okay.
But maybe you'll reconsider because what do you think of a bookend that also serves as a Bluetooth speaker capable of reading out audiobooks?
Oh,
A
yes.
bookend that lets you listen to audiobooks. So Jonas Dienert designed it as part of the Render Weekly Instagram competition. This little creation is part bookend and part Bluetooth speaker. It sits on your bookshelf holding your books in place, but also gives you the ability to listen to music, podcasts, and even audiobooks. What do you think of this?
I love it. It's like these TikTok videos, like top 17 things you need to get from Amazon. This is one of these gadgets.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's one of these gadgets that, TikTok made me buy it kind of thing. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's pretty
And
neat.
I like the I mean, I know, like, in essence it's a Bluetooth speaker, right? That's in the shape of a bookend, but it does bring in the conversation of accessibility because we're talking audiobooks, because we're saying, hey, you can listen to this book in alternate format. And if you have WhisperSync already, which is where you can read books off your Amazon Kindle, and then it seamlessly, I'm plugging this, it seamlessly brings you into the audiobook version on Audible and syncs you up where you left off, then you can actually do that with the device.
Yeah.
Get your audiobook, your Kindle.
I think it's pretty cool.
Nice. Now, would you actually purchase this?
I would, honestly.
Me.
Like
Okay.
you, I don't have books in my room, even though I wanted to get books as just like some, even if they're fake books, just for the aesthetic. Okay, this is the type of person
wish you
I
didn't
am.
say that.
This is.
I wish you hadn't have said that. Promoting fake books on
I
my
know,
audiobook review.
but because I listen to audiobooks, promoting audiobooks rather than
that's true,
physical
right?
books.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm
That's
playing
a
it
good
safe
save.
here. Playing it safe.
Good save.
But yeah, so I would purchase it. I think it's a nice purchase.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a cool and cute gift, and I like that it's trending too. I like that it's out there and that people are talking about it, because that means more audiobooks in the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Welcome back. This is AMI Audiobook Review, the weekly podcast where we chat all things audiobooks, and we'd love to hear from you. So give us your comments and your recommendations, please, at 1-866-509-4545. You can also give us your written feedback at ami.ca. I'm your host of the show, Ramya Amuddin, and we're back with another Pause or Play. That's exciting, by the way, because we took a couple weeks off Pause or Play, but we're back, and we checked out these titles from the CELA homepage, the Center for Equitable Library Access. And one of these titles this month is All the Things We Don't Talk About by Amy Feltman. This is a family stories category for those of you who want to check it out. Let's go through the synopsis before we go around the table. A big-hearted, lively, and expansive portrait of a family that follows a neurodivergent father, his non-binary teenager, and the sudden catastrophic reappearance of the woman who abandoned them. Morgan Flowers just wants to hide. Raised by their neurodivergent father, Morgan has grown up haunted by the absence of their mysterious mother, Zoe, especially now as they navigate their gender identity and the turmoil of first love. Their father, Julian, has raised Morgan with care, but he can't quite fill the gap left by the dazzling and destructive Zoe, who fled to Europe on Morgan's first birthday. And when Zoe is dumped by her girlfriend Bridget, she suddenly comes crashing back and into Morgan's and Julian's lives, poised to disrupt the peace they have so carefully cultivated. A story of betrayal and trauma alongside queer love and resilience, all the things we don't talk about, is a celebration of and a reckoning with the power and unintentional pain of a thoroughly modern family. Okay, let's go around the table. Nisreen, starting with you, pause or play on this title.
Honestly, it didn't catch my attention much. I mean, there was a lot of information going on here. So I would say pause.
So maybe a bit too much of plot description
Yeah.
and character introduction. All right. I agree. I kind of got confused at one point, which character was who again and whose names, but I did read it a couple times, so you guys didn't get the familiarity I did. Moving over to Melanie. Mel, would you press pause or play on this title?
100% play.
Okay.
So the reason I agree with what you've both have said, the reason I would say play is because the intersections aren't spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
And as an Indigenous person that's a social worker that's blind, I 100% know that these conversations have to happen. So it kind of it kind of starts those conversations more and more. And I've heard about this book a little bit, so yeah, no, 100%, I would play it.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards play as well, Melanie, because as you said, the intersections and the identity conversations, especially for the teenager who wants to run and hide, who, their identity is shaped by being raised by a neurodivergent father, but also the absence of the mother. And there's a lot of things that I think come into play there. And I think that there's a lot of background yet to discover. So as Nasreen said, there's a lot of stuff being put on the table, but there's still a lot more question mark of why and how, and even this love that we never really talk about necessarily, but that's supposed to play a role in this, the heartbreak of teenage love. So this is All the Things We Don't Talk About by Amy Feltman. You can find it on the CELA homepage, celalibrary.ca. And thank you both for your opinions, by the way. This is always really nice. We're going around the table and we're checking in with an avid audiobook listener, opening up this space to review, discuss, recommend, browse, conceptualize, and reminisce on audiobooks. And the voice we heard was that of Melanie Marsden. We're welcoming you to AMI Audiobook Review. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm really excited to talk audiobooks with you.
Well, thank you for the invite.
So
Happy to be here.
you're in the midst of completing your master's in social work in the Indigenous field of study, as you mentioned. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm just really fascinated by this choice of study.
Sure. So I am Indigenous, so that means I'm Mohawk and Ojibwe, and I wasn't raised with my traditions. So, really, for me, the master's about going back to my roots, if you will, and my
Hmm.
heritage and culture, along with I am already a certified social worker with my Bachelor of Social Work from Carleton University. So, it really marries my two parts of myself, if you will, my personal and my career. And it gives me an opportunity to then give back to my communities, whether it be with the disability a community for folks that are Indigenous or wherever that takes me. But it gives me an opportunity to do that with being taught from elders, knowledge keepers, and professors that have the language and the culture that I wasn't raised with.
That's amazing. I really appreciate you sharing that with us because I think it's going to tie back into the rest of our conversation today as well. So,
Yes,
contextualizing some of this background is amazing. So,
yes,
for book reading,
yes.
is audiobooks or are audiobooks your preferred method of reading for pleasure, for educational purposes, whatever the case may be?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I have listened to the synthesized books as well, but I really like hearing a human voice.
And how about
Yeah.
Braille? Are you a Braille user?
I love Braille. I'm 100% Braille user. I just live in a condo, and so one book is like, 20 volumes. Where are you going to put it? So, yeah.
That's such a good point. I never super considered that, because I think of Braille displays, but if you prefer having the tactile, the paper, the print
I do.
where you can
Yeah.
flip through pages, that is definitely storage problems.
And I find also with the Braille display, I'm still like I use it, but I'm still not quite as quick with um, moving it from line to line. And then, yeah, I'm still
Right.
trying to get all that technical stuff happening.
Okay. So in essence, like you can relax when you read an audiobook.
Yep, pick up my
Mm.
phone and away I go.
Okay, yes. And how about your go-to genre or kind of book? Do you have a preference?
Um, I like I like self help books. Being a social worker, I
Mm-hmm.
also like light mysteries. The Women's Murder Club with I'm trying to think of his name, which escapes me. I like that series. I don't like real gore. I can't do that. A lot of that. So, and I'm not really a like scientific person. So,
Okay.
but I like self help, family stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as just going back to our pause or play, you kind of noted the serious conversations behind just the
Mhm.
plot that was mentioned in the synopsis, right? So that was really
Right.
interesting as well, what you kind of pick
Yeah.
up
And
when you hear
oftentimes
that.
it's not the mother. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, oftentimes it's not the mother that is talked about in terms of abandoning children, and mothers can and fathers can, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of different that it's a mother this time, and that conversation is really happening. And what happens when that trauma occurs? It can't just be pushed under the rug.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a book that you want to focus on today, kind of a recommendation, but also one that
Mhm.
you really, really
Right.
loved and got into, and it's
Mhm.
called Embers. So can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Sure. And the other author I spoke about was James Patterson. I like his books.
Okay. Okay, amazing. The
Just couldn't think of
mysteries.
his. It just took
Yes.
me a minute. So, Richard Wagamese himself is an Ojibwe person, and so this Embers is a one Ojibwe's meditation book. So I know for folks that may not resonate with them. What I really liked about it and why I read it a couple of times is because it almost brought together the teachings that I've been taught through university the last year, along with the conversations I've had with elders and the learning that I'm doing myself, going to ceremonies. It brought it all like full circle. So I really like the way Embers is put together, because it also, there's some books that you pick up and you can't. For me, I have to have a dictionary beside me, and so this is written what I would say in pretty clear language, and it asks questions like, why is spirituality so important? Why do Indigenous people need to go back to their spirituality to heal? And it really asks those conversations, and it also can be like, it doesn't have to be God for some people. Many people with the issues from the church and the abuse that they experienced aren't comfortable with that. So the author speaks a lot about creator, right? So creator can be whatever you like, which I really like, right? And it also talks about how many of the teachings, like when we begin our day with a prayer, for example, to creator, and we give gratitude for the things that we have, for the generations that have passed, um, it starts to help you have a practice of every day, so that you're starting your day with kindness, that you're embodying the person you want to be, and so that you're beginning to be more enlightened. So it's also thinking with your heart and not your head, right? And that's why the book spoke to me so in so many ways. One of the quotes I have is like, "Love is like a heartbeat, and to have that heartbeat creates love throughout." So when you're going through difficult times, right?
Yeah.
It just really spoke to me in terms of the seven grandfather teachings of love and humility and respect, and kindness, and being humble. And it spoke about the drums, and just really, as an Indigenous person that's blind and not being raised with my traditions, the more and more and more and more I hear where I need to be, the more comfort it gives me in my learning. So it's like practicing a piano song in a way, right? The more you
Right.
do it, the more it'll be in your memory.
And this learning, Melanie, as we heard from you, is quite important because you said that you didn't grow up with your teachings, with the teachings of the Indigenous roots of yours. And so when you talk about how these teachings and even the language and the verbiage and the approach to all of these learnings, when you talk about how it's all laid out, um, do you believe that it helps you kind of feel more like you're sinking in with your roots and digging in deeper to parts of yourself?
100%. It's one of the quotes in the book speaks about the work that we do inside helps you to be a better outside person. So it's not about, sometimes we're blaming and shaming people, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to live like that. It's kind of like the healing needs to begin with myself, from within, to be a better person spiritually, right?
Mm,
In all ways. So I can't I can't be like a social worker and say I'm authentic and then be something totally different. That wouldn't be right.
right. And how about what you said about creator? So this is really interesting to me because the
Mhm.
self development and the self love and just the practices that are being um, encouraged and taught in this book seem amazing for anybody to check out, right? And then
Yes.
when you think about something more specific, like religion or creation, and things where people feel like they could be more divided, where there could be more opinions, like you come in with your own biases before reading. I'm curious about and you mentioned the author does a really great job of portraying this, uh the portraying creation in a very loving way. But do you feel like you can kind of step outside your belief system to engage with that conversation, or does it work
Yes,
together?
I think it works together. So because how do I explain this?
Yeah, it's
So
a complicated.
creator for indigenous people is all around me, right? Creator is the earth. It's the seasons. It's the listening to the birds chirping. It's riding a tandem bike and feeling the breeze in your face, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that piece of creator. Then there's the higher power creator that you're not alone, you know. Um, it's like we are all one in the indigenous ways of knowing that I've been taught spiritually. We're all one. We're all connected. We're
Right.
all like we're all yeah, we're all one. So for example, like um if I'm having an issue in a conflict, for example, I can take my foreign medicines and I can smudge, and I can just say, I'm having a real problem with this. I just want to have an open heart, an open mind, and I can smudge with the four sacred medicines. And that conversation is with the medicines that are sacred, but it's also with Creator. And it also gives my mind a moment to stop and respond in the moment, right?
That's incredible. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a practice, and everybody's on whatever journey they're on, right?
Yeah. It's really um interesting to talk about this, but also feels very, very warm, very welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
because throughout the summer and earlier this year, I was engaged with the Luminato Festival in Toronto, and there was so much Indigenous presence, and that kind of seeped through the entire vibe of the festival, right? Like how um, people were present and how people were opening arms and welcoming you to get to know yourself, but as well, really tie yourself into the rest of the world, other people around you, nature and art, and just love. There was a lot of love, and obviously, Melanie, that we've been struggling here in Canada to have these discussions, to have these conversations, but I've been hearing so much more about leaning into love and leaning into hope. And I feel like this book would be a really great way for people to engage with that conversation from this, more optimistic presence.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think it also helps in terms of there are going to be differences. S and the differences are what make us. Um, and I think that we don't. It doesn't mean that we can't hear those differences. It's that we be authentic with ourselves and we create the best that we can be as a human being, as I can be as a human being, so that people will then come to me
Yeah.
with issues, or they'll come to me with, hey, what do you think about this or that, or do we do land acknowledgments, or do we do statements, and we start to have those conversations where there's not fear to, like, I don't want to say the wrong or right thing. um, it's about like a different kind of enlightenment for me. I think
Yeah.
I would have to say, but very important to have if we're going to
Absolutely.
make truth and reconciliation work, for
Yeah.
example.
And progress, really, like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, if we're going to make progress on our dynamics and relationships with one another. Melanie, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, and I really hope to get you back on the show and to talk more audiobooks, more recommendations, but really like your insights on why this book is so important is really appreciated.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Thank you. We were speaking with Melanie Marsden, and the book we're referring to is Embers by Richard Wagamese. That's Wagamese. And she was our guest on today's audiobook talk. That's it for the show, and we're going to take the week off. Be back next time with more audiobook chat. But until then, you have a great week of audiobook listening.
This was an AMI podcast. For more accessible media, visit ami.ca.